Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Jerry Springer.
Please, please, don't get up. No. Please, don't get up. Oh, thanks for coming. Good night, everyone.
That's it. It's all to see here.
Hey, by the way, Jerry,
What?
I wanted to mention something.
I love how we start a show, by the way.
By the way, since we're here.
Yeah.
You have been increasingly and consistently rude to a woman that I have great respect for. We're not talking about Megan.
This time we're not talking about Megan.
Hello, Megan. How are
Hi,
you
Gene.
tonight?
How are
Good
you?
to see
Me
you.
being rude.
And Denise Compton. Let me first of all say who she is. Denise Compton has been calling our podcast.
Yeah.
She got the celebrity hotline somehow, because I've only given that to agents and celebrities, etc. But she somehow got the number. She calls the celebrity hotline.
Yeah, like you have an agent.
Yeah, and she has complained. We've even had her on the air, and she's complained about the liberalness of our podcast.
Right.
She's well connected, apparently, in the conservative community, the Tea Party, and she has threatened that she is going to Congress to complain to Congress about the fact that our podcast is liberal with no other point of view. You thought it would be funny to say to her in closing, to try to appease her.
That was your idea.
No, you did it.
Run the tape.
I think you're both pretty guilty here. Yeah, there is no tape.
You suggested that
Then how
she
do people
come
hear
to
this?
Chicago to see your TV show.
Which?
And you would give her a VIP pass.
The show isn't in Chicago.
That's the point. So she then finds
this
out
poor
after
woman-
she goes to Chicago, she
She went
finds
there.
out that it's in Stamford, Connecticut, correct?
Yes, Stamford,
Now,
Connecticut.
if I'm not mistaken, then the next time
Yeah,
she
there was
called,
another one in there for sure.
you thought it would be funny at the end.
That was
said,
you
"Look,"
again. Yeah, you went with what? Asheville, North Carolina or something?
So at the end, I said she could come on, sit at the table with us, have a mic.
This woman is traveling around the country trying to come to our show, and you keep giving her wrong
I said, come to the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Asheville, North
not gonna end
Carolina.
well. You
And
both know
that
this.
begot this phone call left late at night on the celebrity hotline. David,
She's going to be taken.
if you let us hear Denise Compton. And the way I read it and hear it, she's not particularly happy.
Hello, this is Denise Compton from Podcast Watch. I don't know what kind of sense of humor you have, Mr. Springer, but let me tell you clearly this is not funny to me to tell me that I can be a special VIP guest at your television show and then send me to Chicago to see it when you've moved the show to Connecticut 6 years ago. And then to tell me I can actually be on your podcast with my own microphone and to send me to North Carolina when it's actually recorded in Kentucky. I have tried to be understanding with you, Mr. Springer. I've tried to give you reasonable time to get your podcast a little more conservative of tone. But it looks like I will be going to Congress to ask that your podcast be taken off the air. And please don't whine and cry about this all over the air. You brought this on yourself with your little joke. Oh, and please ask Mr. Galvin and Miss Hill to contact me at my office. We have a new Christian podcast we're endorsing, and their skills might be a perfect fit. Good evening.
We got a new gig.
Possible job for
Yes,
us.
peace. I'm out.
Certainly hope it pays as well.
That's right.
So get
Oh, it
to-
pays?
anyway,
It pays?
So that was unfair because she's yelling at me, and it was your silly joke that did that.
I think she thinks it was you, and I think probably just
Yeah.
let sleeping dogs lie. Hey, I wanted to tell you something.
She's gonna
I
be
come here, we all know, you guys know, and I know you're going to agree with this. I created for this podcast a very strong business plan, right?
You have no business plan. The business plan is, hey, Jerry, how much can you...
Can I have some more money?
Yeah, can I have some more money? Could you pay for this?
Okay.
Some business plan.
All right,
Jerry,
but,
I need a check.
but then I thought I was really good as the executive producer of putting together rundowns. And I got to tell you, I put together a rundown for this episode.
Is that
in
what this
1
is?
minute, it's on there. And 1 minute before we started, I made a phone call to the Mojave Desert Phone Booth, thinking I would then bring them on over the phone to the podcast, and I find out that the Mojave Desert Phone Booth doesn't exist anymore. So my rundown, crashed
Why
and
don't you
burned
explain to
about a
people what
minute
it
Yeah,
ago.
what is? I don't know what that is.
Well, the Mojave Desert Phone Booth.
There is a phone booth in the middle of the desert there that it's become kind of a cult thing.
Really?
That
Yeah.
people would hang out there.
In the 1940s, just real fast, it came about because it's mining country out in the Mojave Desert, very remote, desolate area, and they hit an emergency phone. Then in the 60s, they put in, through AT&T, a phone booth. And in the 70s, it became a push-button phone, so it's evolved. It's in the middle of the desert. It's 7 miles from the nearest paved road, 18 miles from the nearest road that has a number. And it just sat there. And it was there for emergency purposes that people could
And now people
use it.
just call that phone.
Well, then
It's
in the
in the middle of the desert.
check it out. In
Creepy, actually.
1997, a person who was kind of a hipster and a member of a rock group, and it doesn't matter where he came from, but he heard about this phone booth. He actually went there, looked around, saw nothing, got the phone number, as all phone booths back in the day had. The phone number would be there. He put it on a Post-it when he would have parties at his home in San Francisco. It'd be on the mirror of his bathroom for his guests, and it said, "Have you called the Mojave Desert Phone Booth today?" And that would be the phone number. He got on a mission of calling it every day. And of course, no one would answer because it was in the middle of the desert. Then somebody figured out, I think I'll go out and see if the phone rings. And a person showed up there, and sure enough, the phone rang. It then caught on, went viral in the early stages, middle stages of the internet. And then it all happened as a cult. There were people at the Mojave Desert Phone Booth 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, sleeping in their cars, camping in tents, building fires by the
Answering
phone
the
booth,
phone when it
answering the phone and keeping a log of every person that called.
Why?
So that
And they call from around the world.
around the
It
world.
became a thing to do.
In the 90s,
It's really kind of creepy, though, honestly.
it's crazy.
It's creepy.
In the 90s, I started calling it. And I was in education at the time, and I tell my students about this, and they
You
said,
need to get a life.
"Really?"
Did you really
just-
start calling?
Oh, I called
just
it
joked on my water.
constantly.
Yeah.
Ask my wife, ask my students, etc. And I'd say to these kids in my school, I'd say, "This is a Mojave Desert Phone. Galvin, you be tripping. There is no such thing as that." And I'd say, "Well, look, here, hit number 3 on the speed dial," because I had there. Boom. This is
how
what you would
few
get.
people he called.
This is what you would get. It was usually real chipper. Mojave Desert Phone Booth, can I help you? And so the obvious question was, who the hell are you? Well, I'm from Delaware. And my boyfriend and I are camped out here. And, how many calls have you got? Oh, the phone's ringing, we hang up and the phone rings again. From Ireland, from Australia, from Germany. So it went on for years, into the 2000 and beyond.
You know
and
the
then
government was listening?
The
Whole time. Seriously, that's what it was.
National Park Service owned the land. It's National Park Preserve. It's not park.
You took over parkland?
No. Yeah, right.
Were you there with your gun?
We're coming to that.
Yeah, we're coming there.
that. And finally, the National Park Service said there's too much pressure on this fragile ecosystem, and they basically shut it down.
To support all these crazy people who are answering a phone booth in the
Yeah.
middle of the desert.
So
Okay.
now, check it out. If you call the number, I'll put it on our website, the phone number. Now, if you call, there is no Mojave Desert Phone Booth because they took it down, they removed it, they broke up the fire ring. And now when you call, you get an answer, and it says push 1 through 9 to go into conference. And somebody got the number. Somebody got that number, somehow got control of it. And now you can push 1 through 9, depending on when you call, because it's not as popular as a desert phone booth was. You'll get into a talk room with some people.
That's even
But
creep-
they're
that's
not
even
at the
creepier.
phone booth. I mean, you gotta suffer a little bit to
They're
make
at
this cool.
home.
It's not the same. So
Do you spend a lot of evenings alone?
So many, apparently. He's not
Yeah.
alone anymore. He's on the
Seriously,
chat
get
line
him
from
up.
the Mojave Desert
Yeah,
Phone
he's
Booth.
on the chat line.
let me give you an
really
answer to
serious.
that.
This is really pathetic.
You love sports.
I love sports.
You love sports. You are a sick fan of the New York Yankees.
Well, lately you have to be sick to be a fan of the Yankees. Yes,
Megan,
I
Reds
am a
country
fan of the
here, so
Yankees.
be
Don't
careful,
know why
sir.
you're laughing, because you're insane
I know.
for the Kentucky Wildcats.
I am.
And my team is the Xavier Musketeers,
Nice
ranked
win over Butler.
10th in the
Nice.
country. Thank you very much. In basketball, college basketball.
Yep.
Yeah. When
Yes, you
Xavier
got-
plays, is the basket at 10 feet, or do they make it?
You know that's cold. That is cold. Okay, see if you do this. And you could, again, ask my first wife, Bonnie, if this is true. So we go to the game the other day. We see Xavier play Butler. And I came home and did what I do after every Xavier game.
Cry.
I came home. No, we won one big. I came home. We go to the door of our condo, and you've seen me do this. I kind of pushed Bonnie out of the way and kind of got in before her and kind of tripped her on the steps. I got up, sat down in front of the big screen TV before she could.
He's on drugs.
I took
I don't doubt it.
Just say no.
I took control of the TV.
Yes.
And she said, well, what are you going to watch? And I said, I'm going to watch a basketball game.
Oh, for the love of God.
So what basketball game? I said, the Xavier Butler game. We just can't, it happened 20 minutes ago. So I come home and watch the game second time on video.
Oh,
do
you
that?
DVR'd it?
I could picture you doing that with the Yankees.
Yeah, I kind of do that. I got in trouble being a Yankee fan, though.
How so?
This is true here. And well, I was on city council at the time in Cincinnati, and I'm about a little bit older than a lot of the Reds players of the Big Red Machine. So we kind of hung out together. So we were kind of friends, Pete Rose and Johnny Bench, et cetera. And in '76, the Yankees played the Reds in the World Series.
Yep.
And these are guys I hang out with. But, when you grow up as a kid, whatever team you root for, that's the team you're going to stay with. And so, I'm a Yankee fan. Well, the Cincinnati Enquirer, I think it was the Enquirer, it may have been the Post. One of the papers got hold of it and, had a headline, Springer Yankee fan. So when I threw out a first pitch, 58,000 people booed me. Yeah. As a politician, that's not real smart. So I paid for that, but yeah, I love the Yankees. In fact, I still wear pinstripe pajamas.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of pajamas, so my wife and I, things are going really well.
All right, this is
Mickey
good.
and I, we've been married 43 years now, and but I guess I can. She likes to talk after sex. In fact, last night she called me from Cleveland.
Is that it? 7 times? 7?
There was a
Why are you still?
How's your hearing aid, Gene?
there was a nice
No, we can't.
there was a nice article written about us.
Oh, how we
There was a
tried
nice-
these
in the
old
Cincinnati
jokes.
Enquirer, and thank you. I mean, it was a well-told story,
It
and
really
it was,
was.
balanced and talked about us, our warts and all. And so, but she said they do these jokes. She thought they were funny. I mean, she says it in the article because they take these lame jokes and then just
Lame?
drive them into the ground.
Until it hurts, until it's physically painful to hear them.
Really? That was well stated. Hey, by the way, you brought up Mickey. What is your wife Mickey's favorite wine?
Oh, my God.
I want to go to Miami.
That would be an
7:30 is
example,
not the
wouldn't it?
same as the 9.
That would be an example. See what I'm saying, Megan?
I just can't anymore. I swear to God, get some new jokes. It's killing me.
Really.
My
I know.
psychiatrist told me I'm crazy. I said, I want a second opinion. He says, okay, you're ugly too.
That's probably the 4th time. I swear, if you go back to our archived episodes,
I think
that's like the 4th time we've done. He's done that joke.
We should have a bell that every time we
Yeah.
say.
The guys, the coffee house,
gone.
Matt and the guys, they actually do keep track. They can give you a
I know.
running tally.
I know. Hey,
not good.
Jerry, I wanted to ask you something. And I have to remind people that these episodes are prepared and then they get sort of stacked up, so they don't happen the minute, the next day, for example. Although I will interject here, since I'm mentioning this, we're going to go live. We're about to go live.
That's right.
And not tonight, but we have the equipment that will allow us in the near future, and we'll let it be known on our website. So if you're listening on
So
a
people can
phone
listen
app,
to these podcasts live.
you'll be able to hear it in its raw form, unedited. Now, by the way, we don't do much editing. Credit to Ambient Studios, David Pruce and his crew. They go back and compress things, do
You're
some
not taking the
magic.
jokes out, are you?
No. Hey, yeah, wait a second.
He,
What jokes?
nice. Nice, David.
That's pretty good.
I hope you
That
have
was well played.
Yeah, I hope you have a good resume.
He does now.
Hey,
Thanks, Jerry.
David, you're not going anywhere, dude.
Next job.
I know. But anyway, so that's pretty cool. And we'll let it be known when that happens. But that means that, and we're about to roll into something that's topical for those of us sitting here tonight. But when people hear it, for all I know, it may be over, though they claim they're going to be there for years. And that is, and I'd like you, Jerry, to kind of weigh in on this, a situation in Oregon, a place called Burns, Oregon, where some, what would you call it, militia? I wouldn't call them survivalists, or more militia, an armed militia.
Yeah, in fact, they're even saying, they're putting out on the internet or their website or whatever, join us, bring your guns and join us. So, they it started with this Nevada rancher who they went up to Oregon now. They're basically upset with the federal government taking so much land, and they're ranchers, and they want to be able to use the land. And, rather than go through normal procedures for how you want laws changed or property, they just went on the land and took it. And their dad, of the current guys that are in there now.
So that would be Cliven Bundy,
Right.
and his son Ammon Bundy.
Yeah, now the father,
along with the brother,
the father owes $1 million in back fees and taxes.
for grazing on property that wasn't his.
For decades.
Yep.
So, but anyway, so he grabs his gun, gets his buddies there, and they literally go up there. They've now taken over a wildlife refuge center with their guns, and they have said that they're ready to either be killed or kill, any authorities that come and try and arrest them or take them away. Now, the way it's being dealt with in the beginning, because again, you may be listening to this podcast a couple of weeks later, but the way it's being dealt with now in the media is almost like, oh, this is a kind of cute little story. They're worried that it's going to be another Waco. Frankly, this is more wacko. But, these crazy guys with their guns, isn't that fun? Can you imagine if the guys that were in there with their guns were Muslims?
On any issue.
On any
Angry
issue.
on it, whether it's
On
the
any
same issue.
Can you imagine if Muslims, American Muslims, or African Americans, Mexican Americans, or Mexicans, anybody would be in that building of a different race or a different religion, they'd be saying, send in the troops, get them out of there, arrested immediately. And here, this issue has been going on literally for several years now. And they still haven't been arrested. They still haven't been made to pay their fines. And now, with the guns, they're just letting them stay there for now. Now, I'm not suggesting that we have a major shootout or something, but I'm just saying it's hard not to notice built into the system is this prejudice that sometimes we're not even conscious of. We just view it as this is funny, but this is terrorism. This is terrorism. These people are willing to shoot and kill American soldiers, federal authorities. And then they say, well, look at all the disruption with Occupy Wall Street. No, well, the people with Occupy Wall Street, in all fairness, we're not carrying guns, and we're not saying, if you try to remove us, we're going to kill you. So that's a different thing. That's a protest. American history is filled with protests, demonstrations, marches. God bless you. Do it. That's part of our system, and we can deal with that. But you can't, because you want to win a political point, do it at the end of a gun. So even if their issue, which may have some validity, that maybe some of that land should be made available to the people who live there and not just be, public lands owned by the whole country, then debate it in Congress or whatever and have petitions and do it through the normal constitutional way. So it's an outrage of what they're doing, but the way we're dealing with it shows a basic prejudice that we have. We don't see that as terrorism, but I want to know what the difference is. That is terrorism. Because every day now, there's a different headline about another wacko, crazy, or whatever doing something that's outrageous. Whether it's going into a school and shooting kids, whether it's a teenager sitting at home in his bedroom in some place in middle America, looking at his computer, going to the website of ISIS and saying, wow, I can be a hero if I do that, so I'm going to blow myself up and blow up a movie theater or a shopping mall, whatever it is. I mean, every day there's some incident now of people who profess a hatred for the American government and doing something horrible. If you could step back, because in 20, 30 years from now, our history books are going to write about this trend. And the first that I kind of remember where this suddenly started, this hatred of the American government, really, in our lifetime, probably started, I remember with Ronald Reagan saying, innocently, he was thinking at the time, that government can't solve the problem, government is the problem. I'm paraphrasing, but I think pretty much that was the quote. Government is the problem. And we have now had an entire generation of conservative political leaders running every election on how bad the American government is. Government is horrible. Well, wait a second. We are the government. We elect the people. We decide what the laws are going to be. We are the government. And we should stop this, because what happens, if you have people in jacket and ties who are supposed to be the leaders, if they're saying how horrible the American government is, the horrible things said about Barack Obama, if you don't like his policies, don't vote for him. But he's not an evil human being. But it seems like anything connected with our government is worse things are said by American politicians about the American government than foreign countries say about us. You know, if you took away who said the quote, you wouldn't know who said it. Was it someone from ISIS or some politician in America? We love our country. And frankly, most of the things our government does, which is things that we want, they do pretty damn well. I mean, it's entirely possible that tomorrow something's going to happen. But I got to tell you, I was just thinking about it New Year's Eve. You know, you watch the ball come down on Times Square, and how many places around America where there are these big celebrations, all the football games over the holidays, 80,000 people in the stadiums and things like that. Did you notice that nothing happened? Do you realize that our government is working every single day, catching every effort that is being made to cause some horrible thing to happen? And yes, occasionally somebody gets through. But really, overall, it's amazing how good our government's been at keeping us safe. You know, will every crime be stopped? Of course not. As long as you have human beings, you're going to have criminals. As long as you have human beings, someone's going to be a terrorist. Someone's going to do something stupid. We're a nation of 320 million people. Some people are bad. That's going to happen. But this constant, relentless attack on the American government, and now we have these people, they wave the American flag. They disgrace the American flag. This guy with their guns, you know what the irony is now? He's just committed a felony. They've committed a felony. They've threatened to kill federal officials. That's a felony. They've taken over a property at the point of a gun. That's a felony. Therefore, not only should they be arrested, not only should they go to jail, but now they can't pass a background check because they're felons. So all their guns should be taken away. Doesn't that make sense?
How do you think that will end? Remember, they're not dealing with the Ted Cruz administration and Attorney General. They're dealing with a Democrat, a liberal Democrat, Barack Obama, and the FBI clearly is trying to kind of handle this carefully. And I wonder how it ends. In fact, let me throw some perspective in. In the 1970s, 73, as I recall, Wounded Knee happened. So Wounded Knee is on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota in the Black Hills. And they had disputes, some of the Native Americans there. And there was an organization called the American Indian Movement, AIM. Russell Means was one of the leaders. Dennis Banks was the second one. And so they took over Wounded Knee, which is an historic site of a massacre back in the 1800s, so it has importance historically. And they held it for 72 days. And there was somebody shot, an armed official, and was paralyzed. So somebody got hurt. Somebody got hurt on the other side. Russell Means and Dennis Banks were both charged with felonies. You're right about that. Yeah. Afterwards, because here's the point that I want to raise to you. There got to be consequences for this at the end. You can't just say when it's over, well, we negotiated a settlement, good protest, see you guys later. No. They have to do something about that.
And by the way, the whole purpose of a protest loses its validity if the protesters aren't willing to pay the penalty or the sacrifice of what they're doing. For example, Martin Luther King and the whole civil rights movement, they were all ready to go to jail.
He did go to jail.
Yes, they went to jail.
Letter from the Birmingham jail,
and
for example.
They didn't even resist it. Remember, they sat down and then they were carted away. We had the Freedom Riders on this podcast, in fact. So you show how serious you are about that protest because you're saying, yes, I am protesting within our society. I understand the Constitution, and I realize for my protest, I will pay a penalty. But that's how I bring attention to it. So while I'm sitting in jail, and sometimes they go on a hunger strike, whatever it is, it gets attention. That's all legitimate protest, as long as you're willing to pay the penalty for what you're doing. If you want to protest and cause disruption and then not have to pay a consequence for it, then there's no respect to you. You haven't done anything that, you just want to get away easy. You just want to scream and yell and not have to pay a price for it. If you really believe in an issue, be willing to pay the price. These guys that have taken over that federal building, the Wildlife Refuge Center, they ought to go to jail. And it ought to be made very clear. And if they ever start shooting, they are shooting Americans. Don't tell me you love America and you love the flag and all that. That's bullshit. You don't like America if you're willing to shoot officials of the American government. I mean, that makes no sense to me at all, and I think we ought to be very strong about that. I'm not saying they should rush in right now and start shooting. No, let the professionals figure out how to bring this to a peaceful resolution. But part of the peaceful resolution has to be that they pay a consequence, they go to jail. You cannot just say, it'd be the same thing. Let's say we're all sitting here in Ludlow, Kentucky, right across the river from Cincinnati. I'm familiar with Cincinnati parks. You don't have a right to say, you know what, boy, the park, the Eden Park, it's so pretty. You know what, I'm going to build a house on it. I'm an American taxpayer. By God, I'm going to build a house in the park. No, you can't do that. It belongs to all the people. And that's what this guy is thinking. He thinks the federal land, since he's an American, he can go on the federal land and have his cattle graze there.
And we'll follow this, and I'm just curious as to how this will all play out. And I agree with you, Jerry. They got to let the professionals go in and try to diffuse it. And that's why I bring up Wounded Knee lasted for 70-plus days. Weaver, what was Weaver's first name? At Ruby Ridge is another one. And there, some people were shot. There was a shootout there. He was prosecuted and then got off in a trial. I think it was a federal trial with a jury. And Russell Means and Dennis Banks never went to jail for that either because of tampering with the jury. So those are some things that happen.
Yeah. Under the Constitution, obviously, you can't just throw them in jail. There has to be a trial.
Right.
And when there's a trial,
it plays out.
It plays out. O.J. Simpson got off.
Yep.
So sometimes it defies belief that the jury will go in one way when you think it ought to go another.
Good point.
But
so we'll see where it all ends up, and we'll keep track of this because it's pretty fascinating. Hey, there
was a guy in the back who walked in before.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. Wait, he was the guy with the hearing aid?
With a hearing aid.
Yeah, he was an older fella. He was really a nice gentleman, and he's talking to me the whole time. He said, "This is the finest hearing aid money can buy." I said, "Yeah, what kind is it?" He said, 4 o'clock.
So
you cannot encourage this behavior. Stop laughing.
Really. So what you're thinking is, if you look out here and you see a different studio audience that no one's heard that.
Yeah. Where is this guy?
Who's that guy?
We're going to take the microphone away from you. That's it.
I have one more.
Jerry.
You can still do your rant. No more jokes.
Okay.
What we say here, Jerry, is recorded. So people can know that you've told that joke now. I count 5 times on 5 previous episodes.
Yeah, but what if
they're recorded?
But we've got some elderly people listening here that just forget.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Every podcast is a new one.
Yeah,
it's always
your podcast is a new audience.
Yeah.
It's a growing audience, And hey, by the way, and I want to bring on Nicholas and the Pessimistics here in a second. I'm going to hear some great music. After this podcast, let's go down, Megan, you, me, and Jerry, to the Ludlow Tavern.
Yeah.
And have some dinner.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
And let's
I
have
wind up
Jerry
paying
pick
again.
up the check.
Yeah.
How's that?
Thanks, Jerry.
Of course.
And By the way, the Ludlow Tavern, and
Yes.
we love the Folk School Coffee Parlor in
sure
Ludlow,
do.
Kentucky, and wherever you're listening to this around the country, around the world. If you get to Ludlow, Kentucky, stop at the Folk School Coffee Parlor. It's just really a cool place. Then go down the street. In fact, do this. Drink coffee through the day. And then go drink real hard down at the Ludlow Tavern.
Get
down the
sloshed.
street.
Come back on in the next morning.
It's a brand new place
Get your
opened
coffee.
by some friends of ours.
Right, yep.
And it
we
is
were there for the
a
opening. It was
wonderful place, a
fantastic.
really cool place.
Yes, definitely
the
check it out.
Ludlow Tavern. I just wanted to
Their
call
onion
some
rings are
attention to
really
them. All right, we have Nicholas and the Pessimistics, and Nick is from Lebanon, Ohio, which is north, kind of a rural, very cool little town north of Cincinnati, kind of between Cincinnati and Columbus. And Nicholas, do a song for us, and then we want to chat with you, please.
Sounds great. This one's called The Lonesome.
So reckless, abandoned to the cards have been handed. Spoke words foolishly, I believed. Spent half of my life doing everything twice, instead of just once, instead of just right. Now from way across the room, she came into view, and I knew something I'd never known. Despite my selfish actions and lonesome infractions, the lonesome are never alone. Oh, the lonesome are never alone. So take me down easy and take me down slow. I can't think of a better way for an honest man to go. Oh, for once in my life, things are going alright. Yeah, you let me live as free as I'll die. Oh, you let me live as free as I'll die. Now my woes and my stresses and the drugs I've ingested, they're all robbed of their hold over me. So if the devil's still expecting to come round collecting, you'll damn sure get nothing from me. Oh, you'll damn sure get nothing from me. So take me down easy and take me down slow. I can't think of a better way for an honest man to go. Yeah, for once in my life, things are going alright. Yeah, you let me live as free as I'll die. Oh, you let me live as free as I'll die. Yeah, simple and subtle, I'll ease off the throttle, and she'll take me down easy and slow. Oh, but be sad for no one who's ever had someone. The lonesome and never alone. Oh, the lonesome and never alone. So take me down easy and take me down slow. I can't think of a better way for an honest man to go. Yeah, for once in my life, things are going alright. Yeah, you let me live as free as I'll die. Oh, you let me live as free as I'll die.
It's a great song, Nick.
Thank you.
And that is that off of this album that
Yeah.
I'm holding right here,
Yes,
your
it is.
latest album.
Did you pay for that album?
No, you did, Jerry.
Your album. I brought that for you.
No, I want to know if Gene paid for it. He keeps walking out with these albums. I never get to see him.
As soon as I get the money from Jerry, I'll pay.
We'll write it off. We'll write it off. It's fine.
No, I'm paying for this. That was
a beautiful
Thank you
song.
so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that song is on the record. That was the single off of it that we released first off of it. It's called The Lonesome. So the single is available. The record's actually going to be available today on iTunes.
Congratulations.
Fantastic. And by the way, you're from Lebanon, Ohio, and you have another job with your wife. You have a flower shop.
Yes.
Tell us. Let's give it a plug.
We're called Flowers from the Rafters.
All right.
We are in Morrow, Ohio. It's just off the bike trail, right by the Little Miami River there.
So there's a bike trail for listeners who aren't from Cincinnati that goes from basically Newtown in a part of Cincinnati and runs up 70 miles up to Springfield, as I recall. in Ohio,
we do.
and goes through Morrow.
Yeah, we
where
do
you
the. It's right there on the bike trail. So we'll go from our shop to Yellow Springs, and in the summertime, I mean, it's actually kind of amazing how active it is all through the year. People are
And we
kind
can
of
go tomorrow.
diehard cyclists.
I got to go to work.
Yeah,
So you've been doing music for a long time.
long time. Yeah, started out playing real young, just. High school stuff, actually maybe even junior high stuff, but
Playing what style?
Rock
and roll?
I cut my teeth on like some of the stuff that came out of Seattle, like some of the grunge and alternative rock. So I grew up on a lot of Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, but got a little older and my taste sort of refined. Actually, my wife is sort of my musical filter. She sort of filters all the less than pleasurable bands and kind of you need to
says
listen
this
to
one sucks. You need to
So she's
she
sort
has
of,
led you to
yeah.
the truth.
Yeah, she's sort of my sensei in
That's
that, in that
good.
regard. So.
Hey, do another song for us, would you?
I'd love to.
All right.
This one's called Get Down.
Yeah, I get down on getting down on myself. Well, I get down on getting down on myself. Oh, live life is a really money's time. I don't got a clue and I ain't got a dime. I get down on getting down on myself. The moon hangs idly by my window. My head's on the pillow, but I can't get no sleep. Not bothered anymore than no more. Luckily, my problems are listening deep. Nobody's messing with my woman. Yeah, most of bills get paid on time. In fact, if I look back through all my history, my biggest problem's always me. Lord, I get down on getting down on myself. Lord, I get down on getting down on myself. Oh, live life is a really modest time. I don't got a clue and I ain't got a dime. I get down on getting down on myself. Well, I'm late for everything and I don't trust anything. And I forget it if you forget to tell me twice. I can't keep nothing clean. I smell like weed with a hint of beam, and nothing seems to sink in except bad advice. Oh yeah, nobody's messing with my woman. Yeah, most bills get paid on time, paid on time. In fact, if I look back through all my history, my biggest problem's always me. Yeah, I get down on getting down on myself. Oh, live life is a really money's time. I don't got a clue and I ain't got a dime. I get down on getting down on myself. Yeah, if I ain't your cup of tea, then why the hell you keep drinking me? I get down on getting down. I get down. Yeah, I get down. Oh, I get down on getting down on myself.
Yeah. Good stuff. That's really good stuff. And real different from the other one. You wrote both of those.
Yeah,
I
all
take
those
it.
songs
All these
are-
songs
yeah.
are original. And again, Nicholas and the Pessimistics, and people can get this on iTunes and maybe some other places as well.
Yeah, actually, our CD release is going to be February 5th at the Drinkery, which is in Over the Rhine.
All right. Do you have a website by any chance?
We have a Facebook page, website's under construction.
Okay.
currently.
People can find you through Facebook.
Yeah, iTunes,
And,
Facebook, Reverb Nation, YouTube. We've got videos on there. Actually, we just released one called Dreams and Consequence that's available, so you can
Good.
see all of our ugly faces and check
no,
us
I'm,
out.
I'm real glad you came by, Nicholas.
Thank
This
you.
is really good stuff.
That's as good as anything I listen to. On, I still listen. There's a thing called radio. Yeah. No, that's as good.
I mean,
It's really-
what you guys are doing with people, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that's coming from podcasts. I'm really excited. Like, I think you guys are, I mean, the technology is just so great. It's,
We agree. We appreciate it, and
it's so
that's and you can see what we're doing is part of our podcast is to feature up and coming roots music writers and singers. So you're perfect for us. So I'm
I
really
listened to
glad
it. You
came
guys
by.
are on my podcast list. I actually heard you on advertise on Mark Maron's podcast last week. Right after was that
I did
after
too.
New
Good
Year's?
job, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
very
thanks.
nice
Yeah,
job,
he
Jerry.
was. Yeah, he was.
great
Well,
guy.
he's great. I mean, he's
A little
he's the
eccentric,
best
but
at it.
he's great.
Yeah.
Well, we used to be on Air America together.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And all three of
They
us,
opened,
Jerry.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mark Maron's
Jerry
show was
was
on the
the
morning
show.
before us. His morning's edition. It was him and
Okay.
Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
it was us.
I know,
listened
it's
to
great.
like Joe Rogan's podcast.
I
and,
listen to Rogan's too.
a
He's
lot
great.
of Dan Carlin's Hardcore History and
That's
some
one
of
of
those some of those ones
Yeah.
like that. So.
Well, good. We're glad that we're on that same list. We appreciate
yeah,
it.
absolutely. You guys are like in the top 7. So.
Okay, good. Maybe we'll get us.
Well, and
We'll take
We're
it.
trying. We're trying to get to 5.
Yeah.
If we get to 5 or even 6.
Yeah, and those other 6, when are their television shows on?
well, I think Maron's on IFC. So.
By the way,
Yeah,
Mark
Maron.
Maron, 500,000 download. We are not there yet, but that's what we're trying. But that's he is,
Yeah, he's
and some of
brilliant.
those others too have huge followings. So we're with you. We think
Yeah.
podcasts really could be. It's at least it's a future. I don't know if
It
it's
is.
the future.
I mean,
but-
it's where radio's
Yeah.
going. So I mean,
Can you take us out on Leadbelly's Irene Goodnight?
I would love
And
to.
if you will, we love that song, and Jerry Springer himself is going to jump in on a verse. It's going to be amazing.
yeah, like I said, I listen to this podcast and I hear a lot of my friends on here, and it's great.
Last Saturday night, I got married. Me and my wife settled down. Now me and my wife have parted. I think I'll take a little stroll downtown.
Everybody.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams.
Sometimes I live in the country, and sometimes I live.
You've been listening to
in
Tales,
town.
Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the
Sometimes
Folk
I
School
take
Coffee Parlor
a
in
great
Ludlow, Kentucky.
notion
Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening
in
song,
the
and to you for
river
listening.
and around.
Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
Irene, good night. Irene, good night. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see you in my dreams. Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. I'll see